But I have mine on the light.
Can use that too.
Okay.
How's it feel being over there, Phil?
Feel like a citizen again.
Yeah, you do.
Really
You're not though.
I know. Well, yeah. Well, am I? I don't know.
Test,
you are
test.
still a citizen,
I am
otherwise
a
you're not.
citizen, and I haven't been assigned as an official liaison or anything, so I am a
Okay.
citizen.
Okay.
A super citizen.
As long as everyone talks into the microphones, we will be able to hear. So just make sure.
Sounds good.
Yes. There you go.
That was very good.
Don't be shy.
Alright, we'll get those agendas going. When those come off, will you pass them out?
Sure.
Okay. Whoever wants to do it.
I love all of the decorations. It looks so festive. The tree and the garland.
You worked really hard on it. Zero patience for decorating. I'm not the tree.
It's beautiful.
I contribute. That's huge.
Great.
Do you want to start? Oh, sure.
Yes, I don't know if we were waiting on agendas, but yes, we're ready to go. If someone wants to be our acting chair for the meeting, we do have on the agenda to select an actual chair if y'all would like to do that. But if y'all want to wait for a full commission to choose that, you can do whatever you want.
I think Chad, since he was last, that makes him first for a chair for this meeting.
I nominate Chad Smith to become our chair, Park Commission chair.
I say we put this to a vote.
All in favor?
Right. Yeah, so there is an item later to select a permanent chair. If anybody now wants to, you can pull that up and make a permanent chair right now if y'all would like, or we can just do an acting chair for the meeting and then y'all can talk about it in the item.
Let's do an acting. I mean,
Yeah.
we might get someone that would be almost as good as Phil, who's not appointed yet.
So Chad could be our acting chair?
Yeah.
Excellent.
At least?
I second the motion for Chad to be our acting chair.
I don't know what to do.
All in
We
favor?
don't even need a motion for that. We can just do it if y'all want.
Perfect.
Thank you, Chad,
Thank you, Chad.
for your willingness to serve.
Yes. My first suggestion, though, is to move agenda item number 10, which is regarding intent to continue to serve on the Park Commission, because I do want to make sure that if we discuss a future chair, I'd just like to know who's going to continue on.
Of
Are
course.
you worried about Chad quitting?
You're getting real close right now.
We can pull that up to the first item. If Chad, if you want to call roll real quick, and then we'll run through public comments, and then we can pull that up to the first item.
All right, calling roll. This is Chad.
Nicole Marisi?
Don Hudson,
Mary Elizabeth Cofer.
Melissa Morrow.
You're just
Public comments. Citizens wishing to address the Park Commission for items not on the agenda will be received at this time. Please limit comments to 3 minutes. Do we have anybody that wants to speak?
Doesn't look.
Phil? Nothing? All right. Discussion and possible action on the minutes from the November 1 meeting. Anybody have any discussion on the minutes?
To approve. Motion to approve. Minutes don't need a second.
I approve the minutes from the November Park Commission meeting.
approved.
Approved. All right, on the regular agenda is discussion and possible action to elect a chair of the Park Commission. I would like to nominate Nicole.
No, thank you. Bless your heart, though.
So we want to find out who's still going to stay. So I'm going to stay for a while anyway.
Well, whose actual terms are up?
Myself, you,
Okay.
Don, and Lori.
Okay.
And I'll explain those a lot. If y'all came in, to fill an unexpired term, we have a 6-year term limit, or a 3-term limit, 6 years. If you come in to fill an unexpired, that won't count against your total number of terms. So if you've done a year, we won't cut you off at 5 and say, you would be done. So we'll just find out from everyone who is interested whether they're up for, their term is expiring or not. Just let us know and we'll pass that on to council. And they normally just kind of blanket approve the slate of next year's board and commission members. And there are some vacancies already, so they'll be dealing with those at the same time. And even if, I don't think anyone here is near their term limit, but they've often even extended term limits if people are still willing to serve. So just a quick verbal from everyone. If everyone's still interested, I'll email the ones who aren't here and just confirm with them, and then we'll take that to council next week.
Nicole Marisi, I continue to serve on.
Dawn continues to serve.
Melissa Mora would be willing to continue to serve.
Mary Elizabeth Kofer, I'm willing to continue to serve.
You expired next December, but I don't know if that matters.
Either way, I'll just
Okay,
be sending
great.
them those that are expiring. And of course, obviously, people don't normally wait till December to retire or leave the commission or whatever it is. So we'll, good to know that everyone still wants to serve, and I'll let council know. And then along those lines, for the actual selecting of a permanent chair, we will have a new member next month. And so if y'all wanted to wait until we had a full commission to decide the permanent chair, that would work. You could also decide it now. It's all.
Do we have
Up to you guys.
any applications that are come in for the vacant spot?
I believe we have 2 or 3, and I'm sorry I didn't have those pulled prior, but we do have 2 or 3 that we will fill that position at next week at council, assuming they take action to fill it. But we have someone to do it, yes.
Is this a selecting a new chair? Is it somebody volunteers, or do we nominate somebody?
It's like an election. You can volunteer yourself, or if someone can say, I want to select
Okay,
someone, and you all vote on it. I'm
It's
assuming
not
not
right.
against their will. You probably wouldn't want to vote on it,
Okay.
but
You have the right to deny.
Sure,
You can say,
sure.
no, I'm not gonna do it.
right.
So you can't force.
Well, if the city council is going to nominate or approve somebody's application at their meeting, my suggestion would be wait until we have that person on this, just so that they can be part of the process. That would be my recommendation.
I like that idea.
That sounds
And then we'd have Lori back as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'd be at a full commission at that point.
Sounds good.
Until then, Chad, would you be willing to act as acting?
That's
Park
fine.
Commission
I'll be
chair.
acting chair. Till then.
Great.
So do we have to vote on that or anything?
That's all we need from you. Thank
Awesome.
you.
All right, next up is discussion and possible action to adopt the rental fees and payment agreement and to make a recommendation to the city council.
Yes, sir. Okay, so Don, Melissa, and I have been working since our last meeting regularly to try to streamline the process of what the rental application looks like here for the city of Rollingwood, whether that be pavilion, fields, whether it be for commercial use or non-commercial use. And part of it is that we do know that city council approved for us to be able to rent and charge up to $25 per hour per location, excluding the pavilion because that's its special entity, just given it's more for parties and longer duration. With that, we also realized that we did not make a formal ordinance change to the city of Rollingwood, and we would need to do that. And Ashley had recommended that we create one ordinance with regard to any of our rental rates. So this way we're publishing one thing and notifying the city of one thing versus having a field rental rate and then an additional pavilion rental rate. So that's what this is proposing here, is that it was our recommendation to stay at the $25 per hour per location of, that would be anyone, Hadley Fields 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, as well as the field house patio. And then the pavilion, are there any questions about that part of it?
Makes sense.
Okay, and that's really what we've discussed over the summer that the city council approved. So then we take the pavilion, and as of right now, the pavilion, it can be rented out unless the city approves otherwise 4 times per week. Saturday from 10 till 1, Saturday from 2 till 5, Sunday from 10 till 1, and Sunday from 2 to 5. And so right now, the way it is that we have a $100 security deposit that is refundable as long as they follow what is outlined in our rules and regulations. And that's basically to clean up after yourself, take photos, and send them to Elaine. And then that security deposit is refunded to you. What we are proposing is to have a residential pavilion rental rate and a non-residential pavilion rental rate for those 4 days and times, or those 2 days and those 4 times that I just mentioned. With that being said, we are making the recommendation to do a $100 rental rate for a resident. So that would be a 3-hour block of time, and a $250 refundable security deposit. If you're a non-Rollingwood resident, we are making the recommendation to do a $300 per event rental rate with a $500 non-refundable, refundable security deposit. Being that this is in line with a lot of other entities that rent birthday party facilities, it's very common for a resident to have a discounted rate versus a non-resident. If we go to Barton Springs Pool, if you're an Austin resident, you pay one rate. If you're a non-Austin resident, you pay another rate. So we felt that this was consistent with what other entities in the area are doing. And we wanted y'all to give us your thoughts, your feedback, your questions, concerns, comments, and then to be able to hopefully move forward so that Ashley can then publish the ordinance to reflect what we're discussing and agreeing, and then be able to send it to city council. I guess it would go to city council first, and then if they're okay with it, then it would be released as an ordinance for the city of Rollingwood.
I'm not seeing the concerns that were brought forward by Robert Patterson addressed here. I thought we discussed having that somebody would need to be hired, whether it's paid for by them or whoever, to make sure that these rules and regulations are followed. Because I believe we have had in place that they were required to park in designated parking spots before, and they were not doing this. And I know that you had said you wanted, I think you wanted proof or something that they weren't doing that, but even the trash, and I've seen the trash, I don't see how anything changes here as far as people following the rules. I think that needs to be addressed, and am I missing it here? I mean, I've looked at this when I was at home, and I'm looking at it again now to see if I'm missing something.
Did you see agenda item number 5? It says update the Rollingwood Pavilion reservation requirements, rules, and regulations. So that's where all of that would fall under. So what?
Oh, I thought I was looking at, so I'm looking at the old one here then.
I'm not sure what you're looking at.
What's in the packet for this?
Is this the old one I'm looking at then? The pavilion?
Reservation requirements, rules, and regulations. There's
I think
limits,
this just covers
ordinance,
costs.
That is correct, Don.
The agenda item we're on right now only concerns cost. So in order to change the cost from what it was before, we have to have an ordinance that changes the cost. In terms of the regulations and how we're gonna enforce it and all that stuff, that's a different agenda item.
Okay,
This
all right,
is
sorry,
just-
thank you.
That's okay.
All right, very
And
good.
we're also working on a map to show where you can park and where you can't park.
Although, I do believe
That's not gonna satisfy me,
that
but.
because we have changed the rental rate, so before, it was basically free. Now, it's going to be $100 if you're a Rollingwood resident, $300 if you're a non-resident, which I think will probably diminish the number of people who are going to want to have events here, for if you're a
So that's a fee
non-citizen.
and then there's a deposit on top of that.
And then there's, and in both cases, so this is, let's see.
We're reducing the number of people that can,
And we reduced the number
Be
of
in
people,
attendance,
but
too.
that's not, I don't think that's in this part.
No,
This is
it's
just
not.
This is just the fee part. So, let's see, agenda item. Yeah, so this, it basically says, so when you go to, oh yeah, just, wait, why is it not? Oh yeah, no, that's right, you're right. Just click the, link on discussion of the payment, that piece.
Okay, I have moved too far.
Yeah, there you go. So this is just about the,
Okay, all right.
So since we're on this subcommittee, what we thought was a little bit helpful and easier to streamline things and stay focused and be able to move swiftly, but with consistency through our agenda items, is we broke out each one of the new kind of forms or documents that we are requesting to go along with any kind of rental. So this way are we good with this component? Great. If so, let's move it on. If not, we'll rehash it and bring it back. And so that's what this effort was for this month's agenda, is to just take each one of these components and separate it versus us having it as one cohesive thing, because there's a lot that's going on. And this way we feel like at least we can make progress on some of these
Yeah,
forms and documents versus going off, not to your offense, like going off topic. Well, what about this? Well, that's on this agenda item. So let's just try to
okay.
keep things simple and straightforward.
I like that y'all added in here that it's not for commercial use. This looks good.
And then what we did is we said that there's a $50 change fee order if a change is made once you've made your original reservation, because our staff's time is super valuable to us, and we want people to feel the pain of, if you did decide to make the change, it'll cost your pocketbook a little bit, but we don't feel that that's exorbitant. But again, we're trying to bring to y'all's attention some of the bigger components of this to see if you agree, disagree, want to modify it, or what your suggestions are.
I have a question. So as far as the change fee, is there a time frame, like you have 24 hour, prior, or then 24 hours, it's just kind of a forfeiture or something?
It says that you're going to be charged for all dates and times scheduled unless a cancellation notice of at least 5 working days is received. And then a change fee of $50 will be charged per event date for changes made after the confirmation of the schedule. So once you confirm, if you change it that next day, you're still going to have that $50 fee, is how we have it, because we're trying to minimize the redundancy of, oh, well, I forgot my in-laws can't make it that weekend. And oh, I forgot I have a baseball tournament this weekend. Oh, I forgot I have this. And so that's where we stand right now. But again, this is why we're having it here, is to say these are the terms that we thought were fair. But if anybody has any other questions or, concerns over it, that's what we would, want to discuss now.
can I ask a question? Is this the user guest is the name of the network, and Rollingwood is the password?
It should be Rollingwood Guest, yes, and it's all lowercase Rollingwood.
The password is Rollingwood Guest?
It's just Rollingwood, all lowercase. The internet is called Rollingwood Guest, I believe.
Okay, that makes sense.
City Guest is your
Guest.
Wi-Fi preferred network, and then just type in lowercase Rollingwood.
Okay. I'm completely unused to this computer that I've borrowed.
Mary Elizabeth, any other questions?
No, I'm
Okay.
actually good. I wish Lori was here, but
Yeah. So we just need to make a motion to approve this payment fee schedule?
If no other discussion is on the,
Yeah, I mean, y'all are on the committee, and
I'll make a motion that we approve this fee as it's written.
I'll second the motion. Anyone opposed? All right, then it's passed. What's next? Discussion and possible action to update the Rollingwood Pavilion reservation requirements, rules, and regulations, and to make a recommendation to City Council.
do either one of you want to,
You go ahead. You're
Okay.
doing great.
Don, do you want? I don't feel, okay,
If I
thank
can get this thing to come up on this,
Well, when you get it to pop up, by all means, go ahead and interject, and until
Okay.
then, and Melissa's same, if you feel
Yeah.
that there's something. So on the item agenda attachment, we have a link to the current Rollingwood Pavilion reservation requirements, rules, and regulations. And then we have a link also that's showing what we're proposing to the rules and regulations. And what we did was we kind of combined and streamlined the current document to help it flow a little bit better and to have everything in one space. And as far as the biggest changes, a lot of it is what we just discussed, as far as we are now going to charge 2 separate rates, one for residents, one for non-residents. The security deposit amount changes, that's refundable. And the other big thing is that we have an additional parking rule in there about its bullet item, the second bullet under the pavilion rules and regulations, where it says that parking in the upper lot on Nixon, Pickwick, and Gentry are allowed according to the green areas highlighted on the map, which we will have a link to the map of where parking is acceptable, as well as failure to park in the designated areas may lead to forfeit of your $250 or your $500 security deposit and or City of Rollingwood parking citation. So that's something that we wanted to discuss with you all, is that do we want to add that component of a legal citation to this? We don't know if we can. And let me backtrack real quick too. Why we have to approve these documents is that once we as the commission approve them, then they need to go to the city attorney and they need to review them, and then they would go on to the city council. So this way we are in agreement and suggesting these forms, these rules, these regulations, and then the city attorney will make any edits to it that would not be compliant or we'd be in a legal pickle with, and then they would move it on to city council. And so we don't know if we're allowed to give a parking citation if you park in a non-designated area if you're renting the pavilion, but this is just what we felt would help us have more control over where and who can park when they're attending a pavilion rental. Do you, Don or Melissa, see any other major changes or suggestions that we added onto this?
We've reduced the number of participants.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, as we talked about that's total number of people there, that's not just kids.
Correct.
So
Correct, unless there's city approval. So if there's a birthday party and we have both sides of the grandparents are in, and right there's 8 or 10 people, and you have your entire kindergarten class list of 20 children, that would be required to ask the city, is it okay if we have up to 40 people, and here's our guest list, and here's who's coming, so that it gives us a little bit more control over who's coming into the pavilion.
and that would go through, not through Park Commission or City Council, go through Ashley and company.
Correct.
So
Is that agreeable with
Yeah,
you?
I think so. If it's within reason, if it was something that was, out of the ordinary, we would probably want to bring it to Park Commission and make sure you're okay with it.
But I do think that will help address some of our neighbors' concerns about having, 50 people up here. Because honestly, if we're reducing it to 25, I'm thinking, really, it could be 3 people in each car. We're only talking about 7 cars. So that should really reduce the amount. Now, if they want to go bigger, which it's still possible, they have to jump through extra hoops. But just by looking at this, I think most parents are going to look at it and go, 25, either it works for me or it doesn't. And so I'm hopeful that for those bigger ones, unless it's a real special thing, that there'll be a lot less chance of that happening.
We could also suggest that they rent out one of the Hatley Fields instead of the pavilion space, because then you can rent out the field house patio, which is still a covered area with picnic tables up there. So we could make the suggestion that if you did want to have more students, say you wanted to have all the first grade class there, then you could say, great, you can have access to our Hatley Fields. We can accommodate that request because that can accommodate a larger group that's attending your event or your activity, but it's not conducive to the pavilion.
So we've got the playscape is limited to 25 children for organized events.
That's currently what we have right now as far as the rules, the current playscape rules. We didn't really address or edit any of that. That's where we were looking for your guidance. If you're okay with where it's at, we didn't think that we needed to change too much, but we can certainly, make those adjustments.
I have a question.
Yes.
It says that the reservations are not to exceed a 25 participant maximum unless otherwise approved by the city of Rollingwood. Who specifically in the city of Rollingwood would be doing this
Ashley.
approval? And Ashley, under what conditions would you consider?
I mean, that's a part where I guess we'd like some guidance from the park commission, and I'd like it to be like, staff would approve it, right? So that, maybe whoever here might eventually be taking over this process. It maybe wouldn't necessarily be me. I mean, if it's we have 5 extra people, it's a birthday party, we promise we'll park up there, we'd probably be amenable to something like that. If they said we have 50 and it was going to become a time where we'd have to, let the police department know to be on extra alert, then we might want to be like, this might be something the park commission should take a look at. I would like to put some parameters around that. I don't want staff to be if it's going to be a constant, people are always going to be asking for something more, maybe we'll come back and say, look, everyone's asking for 30 plus, and maybe we readdress it then.
And we can edit this document right now on the spot, so we can all be agreeable to what those
I would
parameters.
like it to never be 50. I don't think that is the space for 50, ever.
Maybe we set a maximum with city approval where 25, that's routine. If they want to go up to say 40,
Or 35
Or
be the
35.
maximum. I just don't think that is the space for it. No,
Is-
because you're going to have other people that want to use the park. At some point, you're crowding
Sure.
other people out, and that's just not fair.
Sure.
I'm even okay with saying 20 and then telling them 25 is the max. Like, we could put 20 on there, and the leeway is to 25.
I
Sure.
like that.
And
a
then for
lot.
anything else, we could say it needs to come to the
Yeah.
park commission. I mean,
Or
y'all
it
meet
needs to
every
be a
month
different-
almost.
different space.
Right, exactly. Yeah, if none of those work out and they still just want this pavilion and
I
there's
think
time.
that's really something that the neighborhood can all get behind.
Sure.
yeah, that's a lot of weekend goings on. When you think about, I doubt we'll have 4 birthday parties per weekend, but when we did, that's a lot.
So right now, I said reservations are not to exceed 20 participants with a maximum of 25, unless otherwise approved by the Rollingwood staff.
Or maybe,
You might as well just say 25
If you're
without
going to
approval.
word it that way, you might as well say 25.
Yeah.
Why don't you just say 20 and 25 with approval?
I
Well,
think
we'll just
that-
say 20 participants unless otherwise approved by Rollingwood staff. General
Perfect.
guidelines,
Yeah, that works.
general guidelines to exceed this maximum.
seems like every party will try to go over. I don't know
Right.
that,
I'm
but
not sure I'd put that in there. I would just
Okay.
leave it at the approval, and then we'll know as a staff. that
You'll know
we have
what-
25 is the
25,
max.
and if it goes more than that, we'll direct them a different
so we're setting the routine maximum at 20.
That is, that's what we have, that's what we've all discussed here, and so then I'll go back through on the rental rate. We don't even have it there, so that's perfect.
Can we add the same language about unless approved by staff to the no less than 21 days?
On the.
On the applications must be filed section?
Yes, remind me, are we talking about the rental fee payment agreement? Or are we,
We're talking about the reservation requirements right underneath the rules, regs, and,
reservation requirements?
yeah.
Well, that's a hard and fast, though.
Your
isn't it?
4th bullet point, applications must be filed no less than 21
Ah,
days.
got it.
Just, if we don't have anybody on the schedule and somebody comes up and they're a week out and we know it's fine.
That's
Oh.
wide
And-
open or something.
Yeah, that's
I
a
don't
great
want-
suggestion.
I don't want anybody to get turned off just because they,
Because we're last minute people. Like,
yeah, they're
moms
trying
are
to
always so
scramble
busy.
last minute
And
for a birthday
Yeah.
party and all of a sudden they read no less than 21 days and all of a sudden they go, oh shoot, well, that one's out.
Oh,
Right.
now he's going to be the permanent park commission chair. I mean, just right there.
I like that suggestion because that way we've got flexibility. Like you said, it's a last minute thing. Oh my gosh, I forgot to plan my child's birthday party. Where can I go? Is this available? It's 2 days from now. Okay.
But I fully support that if the staff is in budget sessions.
Yeah.
They are
Sure.
too busy and it doesn't work, you can say, nope.
It's the rule, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We
Just
are
make
trying,
it
we
We
are trying to
appreciate
be
that. Yes.
Yeah.
kind and gentle,
Yeah.
gentle with our staff.
We appreciate it. And it seems in this case, then I take it they would submit this all through a Google form, and then it wouldn't necessarily pop up and say, you can't submit this, it's been past 21 days. And then
Yeah.
if it works and we can get to it, I don't see why we wouldn't.
Absolutely. That's
Sure.
great.
Great.
Any other discussion on the rules and regs?
Do we want to, now that we've reduced the pavilion capacity, under the playscape, it has limited to 25 children. Do we want to reduce that, or are we okay with leaving that? I'm just trying to see cohesiveness, and again, it's two totally different components.
They can spread
Out
more
on the
at
playscape.
don't
Okay.
you think?
Yeah.
So we're still good with that.
Big crowd at the playscape either.
Nah.
Am I just missing something? It's,
Usually what would happen though is if you rent the pavilion, they're going to roll off into the playscape area.
Oh, yeah.
So you're going to have the 20 kids that are at the pavilion using the playscape because it's,
Yeah.
you're not just getting the pavilion, you're getting that area as well, which is open. So again, just asking, bringing it to the attention if we wanted to reconsider that.
so if the, looking at playscape rules and regulations, organized events like the 8th bullet point, that means you could have 20 people at the pavilion and 25 at the playscape? Is that what that means?
Yes.
That's probably not likely to happen. So, but it's probably good to leave that in. Yeah, okay. Do we want to make that 20 just to be, aren't we 20 on the pavilion now?
So organized events at the playscape are limited to 25 children unless a special permit has been issued by the city. So we can do two things here. We can be consistent with the verbiage that we have on top where it's limited, is a maximum of 20 participants unless otherwise approved by the Rollingwood staff, or we can leave it as it is.
What would we consider an organized event on the playscape? Would it be the pavilion renters have then said, let's all go to the playscape now? Or, because we've never
Yeah,
had
we
anyone.
I was
We
gonna say,
don't rent out
I
the
wouldn't
playscape.
want to rent out the playscape at the same time as the pavilion.
Right.
Because in
we've
my
never
mind,
had.
I'm getting the pavilion because we're gonna use the playscape.
Correct.
So,
And then if there's other people that are just there to use the playscape, I think that's fine. I'm not sure we've ever had a request to like, we want to use the playscape at this time.
And I don't think we would ever want to offer it as a rental for somebody because then it takes away from any of our residents to be able to use the playscape
Yeah, that
for
would
free
be-
play.
that would
So
be
do we
sad.
even need that in under the
I
playscape
agree.
rules and
I think that
regulations?
can come out.
yeah,
Because the big crowd will come when there's something at the pavilion.
yeah.
And we got that limited in the verbiage above, so.
So we're in agreement then, take out bullet point 8 under playscape rules and regulations that organized events at the playscape are limited to 25 children unless a special permit has been issued by the city. We're just completely deleting that.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's delete that clause, and then I'd make a motion that the amended rules and regs be approved and submitted to the city council.
One thing I've noticed.
Second, I'll second that and then we can
Oh,
discuss
I'm
it.
sorry, yes, okay, you're right.
So
Now,
then-
discussion, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah, go
sure.
ahead.
Okay.
Okay, one thing I've noticed is that a lot of the children that are coming to the playscape area, they're not attended to by their parents. They're attended to by other people that aren't really nannies and such, or babysitters or something, that aren't really paying attention to them. I had to ask Vicky today, there were these big blocks that are moved off the walkway. They're out in the grass. I'm amazed that these little children can move these things, but they've done it before. I wish there was some way we could get someone to be responsible for these children. So, I mean, for one thing, they could get hurt. These are big. I wish we could somehow, and maybe this isn't the time to be inserting this, but I wish there was some way we could get these people, parents, nannies, babysitters, whatever, older siblings to be responsible for these children. And I don't know if there is.
I think that's a bigger fight.
I don't know if that necessarily falls under our jurisdiction as far as monitoring or policing what's
Yeah.
going on, the activity within our park space.
Right.
We do have the rule that if you're under the age of 7, that an adult needs to be supervising you, and that the ratio is 1 to 6 for adult supervision to 6 children. That's just my personal thoughts on it, is that we have the rule. It should be common sense to supervise a minor child on a playscape or in a playground area. However, I don't know how we as the park commission can police that. And
Yeah, I don't either.
I share your concern, because we
Yeah.
have 4 children, and I share your concern that.
And they're not being supervised.
Correct.
They're attended, but they're not.
Supervised.
Okay, I just thought I'd throw that out there. All right.
Playscape's pretty safe, just for what it's worth. You
Yeah.
know, It's
Yeah.
well
It's as
designed.
safe as you're gonna get.
It's not a terrible thing to, I know Wendy used to send out things just sort of in, hey neighborhood, these are things to think about. I don't know, we don't really have one that comes from City of Rollingwood.
No, but we're always open to some social media content. Like, we love a good safety bulletin every once in a
Yeah.
while, and that can be something if anyone has some
Down
content.
below by the playscape, there's an area where I can't remember which one of the young residents put up a Martin house, and down below there was a place we actually considered for a butterfly garden, but they've moved all the stones around there too, and they move them on a regular basis. I understand from Vicky that they put these stones back in place, but they keep getting moved around. I can never do a butterfly garden
These
there
are kids
if they're
doing
going to
it.
continue moving. These are big stones too.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So I
Yeah.
would like to see you put something like that in there. For one
Sure.
thing, it's not safe.
Mm-hmm.
It really isn't.
We'd be happy to highlight, the park rules on occasion, maybe pick a few to discuss and talk about issues we've had and things like that. I mean, content like that, it's rare that we ever catch any kid doing this. I mean, of course, if we saw it, we'd probably stop and talk to him about why that wasn't something we should be doing in the park, but.
Well, maybe, Mary Elizabeth, too, when you see something like that, maybe just kind of document it, shoot it over to staff, and then that way when they have the opportunity to put it on their social media,
Well, there's an opportunity. I saw it today.
Sure.
you can take a picture and a video of them. Just kidding.
Oh,
We
I
don't want to call
I
anybody
see
out,
them
but
doing it.
we'd be happy to do a nice post
Right.
about
Yeah.
here's why we have these certain rules in
A
place.
post, and I mean, it may, at some point warrant a change to our signage that says, remember to leave the park as you found it, that kind of
Yes.
stuff. But it takes a campaign, I mean,
Yeah.
you really have to. And let me tell you, I'm away, we see this all the time. It's like, I will come in and I'll be like, how did they move that entire stack of blocks over to there? Like, I
No,
mean,
and they're not that big, some
Oh,
of these
no.
kids.
these are 4-year-olds, and they will grab one of those things, and one of them does it, then all of a sudden they all want to do it. It's like,
And they're riding
Yeah.
dirt bikes over it all of a sudden.
yeah,
You're like, where did you get all that?
Yeah, adding a ramp and.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're happy to put some content up. If y'all have any ideas, feel free to shoot them over. Our social media is very whatever works at that moment. We will put it on there. So just let us
Okay,
know.
great,
We're
thank
happy
you.
to.
So there's a
All right.
motion on the
Any other
table.
discussion on the motion? All right, it's been seconded. Anyone opposed?
All in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that's passed. Number 6, discussion and possible action to create the Rollingwood waiver and release and to make a recommendation to City Council.
Melissa or Don, or am I still on the docket
good.
here? Okay.
Just going through.
All right. This process, again, if I understand it correctly, is that we as a commission discuss it. Then it would go to our attorney to see if there's any kind of legal ramifications or wording that would have to be changed. And then if we and the attorney approve it, then it would go to city council. And this is a waiver that we would like to include in the rental process of any of our fields, the field house, or the pavilion. And it basically is asking anybody who rents from us would read this waiver and release, and then they would click to agree that they will comply with what is being stated here. And it's basically a hold harmless for the city of Rollingwood that if somebody is coming in here to rent any of our space, that they are going to release the city from any indemnification or any kind of physical harm that could happen to some participant of one of their activities.
Makes sense. Any discussion on that one? Any tweaks to the waiver requested?
Mostly that the attorney says it's good.
Yeah. I mean,
Correct.
Yeah,
I would
I'd
propose-
suggest that in the motion that we just, pending attorney review.
Pending
and
attorney approval, I would propose that we submit this to the city council and the attorney for approval.
I second. Oh, go ahead, Dan.
Second.
Any discussion? Anyone opposed? Everyone in favor say aye.
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 It's passed.
You're really getting.
All right, yeah. Discussion and possible action to create the Rollingwood COVID-19 waiver and to make a recommendation to the city council.
And then in addition to that, based off of what we just agreed to, would be for the city attorney to review as well.
Yeah,
To include that in there.
Yeah, these are legal documents, so that's. for sure.
Correct. And this is because of COVID-19. What's happened is that the majority of like-minded rental organizations in the area are requesting that anybody who's participating in an event or an activity at that facility or location is asked to sign off on a COVID waiver. That's what the background is behind the recommendation of this. And then this would also be a component of our rental process as we get through that. Originally, we were going to have everybody sign off on these documents, so that's a little bit of a verbiage that we might want to change or strike, is that, like, number 5, by signing this agreement. Originally, we were going to have everybody print it out, sign it, scan it, email it back. And then after the discussion within our subcommittee, as well as with some staff, they had made the recommendation that since we're requesting a driver's license to be uploaded as you rent out, that's our legal kind of nuts and bolts of having that person with us, and that we don't really, this is less significant to have them sign off and acknowledge all of this. So we have a button in there that basically says, I've read it and I'm clicking this button and I agree to what the terms are of what the document is that I just read. So that verbiage there, number 5, would probably need to be adjusted and edited and say, I acknowledge versus by signing this agreement.
okay.
So,
Any other discussion on this COVID waiver?
One of the things we talked about was initially we had some of these things were signed, dated, copied, sent back to the city.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Melissa said that, or somebody told Nicole that just clicking a button that says you've read it is adequate for that. So this can get pretty complicated.
like I just did one with
As
I-9.
long as the attorney approves just clicking the button, are you okay with just clicking the button? Are you okay with the substance of this
yeah, I'm
waiver?
I'm fine with the substance of it. And it's, this is this will be for the attorney to pick through.
Okay, so I would make a motion that, subject to attorney approval, that we submit this COVID waiver to the city council and the city attorney.
Second.
Second. All those opposed? All those in favor say aye. All right, that one passed.
Chad, you're on a roll.
Telling you. Number 8, discussion and possible action to update the non-commercial and commercial rental process and to make a recommendation to the city council.
Yes, and I apologize. In there, it should also add the pavilion rental process, which it is in our agenda item summary sheet when you click on that link. What it has come out of the subcommittee that we've been meeting over the last month is that we would like to propose to have 3 links on our website under Rollingwood Rentals. And you would have a link if you are a commercial renter. You would have a link if you're a non-commercial renter, and you would have a link if you're a pavilion renter. Because those three, we tried to get it in one form with contingent upon this and a conditional answer with that, and it became very long and tedious, and it didn't seem to be as efficient and effective, and it could lead to more questions from the renter, like, who am I? What do I fall under? Am I this? Am I this? So we thought that having these 3 link options on the website would help people understand who they are and what they're trying to rent. We can put an example on there. So a non-commercial renter would be an example of, I personally want to rent the softball field because my daughter wants to have a softball birthday party. I'm not making any money on it. I'm just needing a space and a facility to hold this particular event, and that would be a non-commercial use example. A commercial use example would be what we've been dealing with for Beat Fitness, Ignite, I9, the groups that want to come in and actually charge a fee in order to be able to use our space, as well as an example would be a fundraising event. So Eanes Elementary, they usually do an annual mother-son kickball tournament. They are charging a fee for that. They would come in and they would go under the commercial application process because Eanes Elementary PTO has certificate of insurance that they could put the city of Rollingwood on, and that's a commercial use. Those are examples of the commercial use. And then the pavilion rental is what we've mentioned earlier, is that it would be primarily for a birthday party or small gathering, only on Saturday and Sunday unless otherwise approved through the city or through the staff on those particular 3-hour increments. So does that kind of help give you the big general idea of what this process is starting to transform into?
3 different links on the website. One saying, I want to apply for a commercial use of a field. 2, I want to apply for a non-commercial use of a field. 3, I want to apply for the pavilion.
Correct.
Makes sense?
Non-commercial would generally be, I mean, it doesn't have to be, but it could be they're usually going to be single events, like a kickball tournament or a softball tournament.
Okay.
Type thing, and nobody makes any money off them. It's recreational.
Any other discussion on this one?
You know, we probably spent more time kicking these 3 options around than Nicole. Just the writing that you've done is impressive, I must say. It's something to read, but I think how these actually are put together needs another look at. But I do think we should go by and review them and collect feedback, but I don't think we should try to send them to council yet. Is that any pushback on that?
I need to make sure I understand this.
Yes.
So are we talking about just the fields, or are we also talking about the pavilion here?
The first 2 are the fields, I believe, non-commercial or commercial.
For
And then the
fields.
last one is for the pavilion. So we're talking about branching it into 3 different links. First link, commercial use.
And-
Second link, non-commercial use. Third link, pavilion.
Okay.
And you can click on each one of those attachment links and see what that would look like. Where,
Oh, I see it down here at the bottom. Okay,
Correct.
there. Okay.
So we're gonna need to put some buttons in there, and these need to link up appropriately to the documents that we've been looking at.
Okay.
and it all is in there. So basically, if you click on any one of those applications currently as it's included in the attachment, you will go through where it's what we called the common application. So that's all of your contact information. What's your name? What's your address? What's your email? And then it goes through, okay, tell me more about your activity. What day? What time? Do you have additional dates? If so, communicate that with us. How many people are coming? What's their age group? That's more metrics for us to understand. Are they residents or non-residents of Rollingwood, Eanes ISD, or other? Those kind of metrics are helpful for the park commission to understand who's coming into our area and under what conditions and what ages. And so that has no bearing. We're not charging people a different rental rate if you are a resident or non-resident, district, non-district. We're not doing that. We just wanted to know from ourselves who's coming in and who's taking, who's using our fields and our spaces. And then it goes into all of the legalese, the forms. So the COVID, the City of Rollingwood waiver and release, we asked for a mitigation plan. We asked them to agree to the payment fees and process that we just approved as agenda item number 3 earlier today, or 4, I believe. And so that's where you get all of those legalese at the bottom of it, and just click, 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 if that's what the attorney says is legal on our end, to hold them accountable that they've read it. And then they submit their application, and it goes into Google folders, and then we are able to, it gives them a link to the calendar to see if the spaces are available, and it outlines a lot of what you're able to do here. So you're either agreeable to it right out the gates and you want to fill out the application, or you're like, that's not going to work for me. Because we try to outline it where the first thing you see is, how much does it cost for me to rent here? What are the conditions? And is my date available?
Right.
Because that's, from Melissa's feedback, that's a lot of what they get at WEA when they're requesting, when people are requesting to use their spaces. How much does it cost? Can it hold my event or activity? And is my date available? And so it puts a lot of onus on the applicant to go click on the Google Calendar and say, well, is this available or not?
Right.
And if it's not, well, then I got to look elsewhere.
Right.
And trying to help streamline that so it's a little bit easier for applicants as well as staff to be able to manage requests that are coming through, as well as the Park Commission, because we won't necessarily have to field each applicant that comes through for commercial use.
I have another question. So under the pavilion facility use and application, why does it have Western Hills Little League Girls Softball as tier 1?
Because we have a 10-year lease with them that
That's for up here. That's not for the pavilion.
That's just telling you all the priorities.
Oh,
That's,
that doesn't really have to do with the
it
pavilion.
doesn't
Correct.
have to do with the pavilion.
Okay,
I
that's
was
the whole
wondering
thing.
how
Okay.
that would be used by a potential renter. I mean, isn't that something that we,
'Cause they wouldn't have,
Yeah, no. Not for,
not for the pavilion.
so we could, because that's what we're doing right now, is discussing parts of it. For the pavilion one,
we could delete it.
I
Yeah.
think so.
I'll just take it out right now.
And information like that could go on the city's webpage before they get to this as well. That could be like a, facility use, here's our priorities, here's what council has said, here's what we have. Now you can come in and, rent where it's available. That's an option as well. We can customize that page to have, buttons for each of these separate things, whatever kind of information you guys want to put on there, we can do that.
So I just deleted it, and that's what this is about, is reviewing these forms. And so that's deleted now off of the pavilion application.
Since we're on the pavilion one,
Yeah.
can we start at the top?
Sure.
And I don't want to take too much time, so I'm going to set my timer for 5 minutes.
Okay,
I like
good
that
for
idea.
you.
Um,
Thank you.
So just to give us a feel for how fast we can go through that. All right, go.
I will make a since we just changed that only 20 attendees are allowed to go to the pavilion, I just made that change for the participant capacity. So know that that's updated right now.
So we're under the pavilion facility usage?
Correct.
Oh, you're good. I'm just peeking over your shoulder.
What are we doing? Are we discussing
You're
this?
just looking, to look at it. So since Don said that he was a little concerned about
Oh.
approving it right away, I was just gonna say, as a group,
right,
let's look at the first page, read through it. The 3 of us have read it many times, but
Yeah.
for the rest of y'all, let us know, if you see something that you're like, oh, I think you're missing
This looks
this
good.
question.
now, Nicole,
Looks
are you
good.
gonna
Then
put
go to
links?
next.
Oh,
I'm sorry, did I interrupt
Go ahead, Don.
somebody? Are you gonna put links
Oh.
to the
Like, kinda
documents that they
fake
need
one.
to review and?
Yeah, so if you scroll to the bottom of it, you'll start the documents that you have to click and review. It starts with the Rollingwood waiver and release. And this is consistent for all 3 forms of applicants. So it's not going to change from one to the next.
Mine doesn't have that for
Because
some
all those
reason.
things were-
Mine ends at applicant street address.
So then we have on here the Rollingwood waiver and release.
You'd have to probably fill it all out, right, before you could move on to that next page. Can you see it all as like an administrator?
Oh, maybe that's what it is. So
Yeah.
let me see if
Yeah.
I can take it off.
We're gonna put those at the top, COVID waiver and stuff like that as part
You
of
can
the
do
common.
fake ones. You can do 5x5, 3x3.
How do I get rid of this section? Okay, try and refresh your screen and see if now it all merged so that you don't have to fill out one area before moving to the next. See if that, if you can refresh
Oh,
it.
yeah, lots more stuff.
Okay.
Now you won't have to.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that. That's when we were doing
have to.
conditional,
No,
like
I
if you
think she'll
answered
send-
this way, you would be
you'll
directed to a
probably-
different type of a
Okay.
form.
No, I think this looks great.
And those are the waivers that we've already
Yeah.
just approved.
Right. Rental fees and payment.
All right. Any other discussion on this?
And again, guys, this is a work in, like, if we come about and we see something, there's a tweak with staff, and they're like, hey, this doesn't make sense, it doesn't jive. It's not, like,
It's
never
not set in
changing.
stone.
Yeah.
Sure. And even like the first, maybe it does go to council so they see all this work that's been done. But if there's a minor tweak on something, that's not something that's going to need to go to council every time. If it's the fee stays consistent and everything else, the main, substance stays the same, that it's a living document. We can definitely
Yeah.
make small. If we
This
see
is-
we're not getting the information we need, we can.
Yeah, this is more of like, are the content and the consistency there of what we're charging for rental, what our maximum capacity is, are we outlining kind of who we want where? Melissa had brought up a great point that we should limit the amount of participants per field to 25, because that'll help minimize the wear and tear on the fields, and it'll be less for us to have to maintain and operate. So again, that's where a lot of this discussion and these guidelines and recommendations came in, is just the three of us being able to collaborate and say, what makes sense? How can we, offer our space up, but be mindful and responsible for who we're renting it out to?
Let's see, we've got some, their driver's license, that's something they're gonna have to, is that on here, or was that on that one I was looking at? So for Pavilion Rental, they'll be adding files, so there'll be, pictures of driver's license, certificate of insurance, okay.
Yeah, we're asking them to upload two documents. One is the driver's license and one is their mitigation plan. What are you gonna do? And we put an example of a mitigation plan in case people are like, I don't have a clue what that is. You can use ours, and again, that would need attorney approval. Are you okay if we use this as an example? And then if so, they could print that out, upload it, change it to whatever works for their activity or event, and then that, as long as we have that on file, that we know that they're being responsible when it comes to, a situation with COVID.
I think if anything, this is too much for somebody to rent
It's
the
a lot
pavilion.
for the pavilion rental. We
Yeah.
kinda went, we started off pretty skinny and
Okay, that was our 5 minutes.
Well, Pavilion Rental, what we have here is the applicant's information. We have event, date, and then we have a copy of a driver's license and all of the waivers and releases. That's what we have for the Pavilion Rental.
And Ashley, just to be clear, I think, I can't remember if it was you or someone else who mentioned that because we're getting a copy of their driver's license, so we know who's filling it out, that's why they can do the online checkoff for the other liability parts, because it's sort of reaffirming the identity of the person who's signing the waiver.
I remember that was Sharon, I think y'all
Okay.
were talking to, but I'll confirm that with the
Yeah.
attorneys that's fine. I mean, we haven't even, they haven't necessarily been filling those out in the past to rent them, so, you know what I mean? I think it's just an additional check, and, they check the box, they've uploaded their driver's license, I think that's fine. But we'll confirm.
Well, if we want to go through and, the Pavilion, so if we,
Are we good on the pavilion?
do we have concerns over the Pavilion at this point? Any other questions or
This-
discussion?
pavilion facility use and application.
That's
I
fine.
think it's close enough to where I don't think we'll be adding things to it. I don't think. We might take some stuff out
Yeah.
over time, but I think it's probably good.
All right, do we want to move on to the non-commercial application?
So are we,
I think we're proposing to approve all of them. We could break them out, I suppose, but then the agenda item isn't consistent with individually one over the other. So
Yeah,
if we have
let's
time
just-
to go through them all, that would be ideal.
I'm gonna set the
Okay.
5-minute
go-
timer.
let's
just
go
to keep
quick.
us-
okay,
Should help.
let's see. So next is non-commercial facility use. What are we-
Yeah, let's go non-commercial.
Okay. So I recall this is fairly similar in layout.
What I'll do is I will merge these sections. So if it stops after the priority tiers for you, give me 1 second and I will merge them. And if you refresh, you should be all continuous now.
It's impressive, Nicole.
I know.
It's not me, it's Google.
No, it's you.
Yeah.
Trust me.
You did.
Google doesn't do that for me.
It's a nuisance too. It's pretty slick, but boy, it can be tricky.
And again, we put a lot of metrics in there. We don't have to. That's why we're bringing it up for discussion. We're kind of sharing you the big idea, and then we can kind
I
of
think
discuss.
all this is an improvement over what we've got, so.
I like this.
These are nicely, I've not read these in this form yet, Nicole. These are nicely parallel to each other,
Yeah.
so that's good. Let's see. Let me run it to the top here.
So when we get to non-commercial and commercial, the facilities license and rental agreement is the long document that the city asks any renter to complete. That's what I-9 has used. And so even if a pavilion rental, correct me if I'm wrong, somebody wants to rent the pavilion, they fill out, if you click on that link where, just grab it.
What's the difference between activity and event?
Activity
looks
would
like-
mean ongoing, like for commercial, where it's
Honestly, I had event in there. Don liked the word activity better. And if I didn't consistently change it to go to activity, highlight it and I'll change it right now.
No, I'm just seeing that there's an activity start date and then end date and all that stuff at the start. You got activity description, activity start date, start time, end time, additional details, and then you scroll through a bunch of these waivers, and then you've got event start date, start time, end time.
Oh, that probably is just, I needed to delete that section instead of merging it.
Yeah.
So that's what happened is, let me-
Okay. It
let me-
just looks duplicative to
It
me.
is.
Yeah.
So sorry about that. It was supposed to end at where it says I've read, understand, and agree to all provisions of these agreements, and on behalf of it, blah 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 blah. That's where it was supposed to end it.
Okay.
And then I merged that bottom, so I'm going to delete all that stuff.
If you make that change, I'm good with the non-commercial.
And
Anybody else want to discuss anything on the non-commercial?
No.
And
All right, let's move to the commercial one.
and so that was the non-commercial. So that rental form, the only thing that would be changed on that long form, the one that we use for I-9, would be the insurance requirement would be deleted out of it. So if it's just a personal use,
Yeah.
we're not going to require them to have $2 million of insurance
Perfect.
or $1 million or whatever.
so so for nonprofit, non-commercial, do we need certificate of insurance on this?
For
I
non-commercial.
think, no, I didn't know what you just said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ashley.
Right.
But will you ask the attorney if since they don't, do they want individual waivers? Like, so since I don't have a commercial entity, do they want the parents to all sign a waiver?
Sure.
Just,
Okay.
cause in the commercial area, basically you're covered by, them, they usually get a waiver from each of the individuals who are participating. But in a non-commercial, if I'm gathering up my softball team without the coach or whatever, then I probably wouldn't as a parent. But then does the city need a waiver that, again, we can tell the person, it's your responsibility to collect that waiver. I don't wanna put it on the staff that now you have to go every time there's a non-commercial event, you have to get a hold of them. But the parent has to agree that they will get a signed waiver for all those and hold them,
From each
you
event,
know,
okay.
from each
I will
event.
ask about
Okay.
that, not, that will be included when it goes to council if necessary, or it'll come back, so I will ask him.
Now, I just noticed something here I'm looking at the the pavilion facility,
Mm-hmm.
new word there, and it says, if for profit, please upload certificate of insurance. But we don't have any for profit in the pavilion, so.
That's a
that
good
could be
point.
struck.
So, but wait, if you were, I think the reason we left that in there was, if I'm renting the pavilion, but I'm gonna get a face painter or some other commercial person to come in, if you're gonna have them, then you're adding them, they have to provide their insurance.
So maybe we should change the verbiage here. That's a great point to say, if a commercial,
If you're going to have a, if
Yeah,
you're
the
going to
event
pay
involves some
someone,
commercial vendors,
if you're gonna
then
pay
they are
someone else
required.
to run your party, like, I don't know, run bingo, run whatever,
so if your event requires a commercial vendor,
That says it.
yeah.
That's very clear.
please upload a certificate of insurance with City of Rolling Wood as insured.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Do our current rules allow commercial vendors for like the pavilion rental?
No, and we even put that in there for this one that we just passed, is that the pavilion will not be rented out for commercial use. It's,
Okay.
To Melissa's
Right.
point, if I wanted a face painter to come in for my child's birthday party, that face painter would have to give their certificate of insurance with City of Rolling Wood on there that we would
Mhm.
submit with the application process.
Okay. What I'm trying to keep from happening is having like big, like renting trucks and putting them in this parking lot down here. We've had an issue with that before where they would, it's currently not allowed in our rules, but once someone's already here with a party going on and there's a big truck, in our parking lot, in a, a police department parking lot, it becomes
Are you saying
an
like
issue.
a games for you, kind of like
Something
a video
like
gaming
that.
truck?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we'd like to make it pretty clear that that wouldn't be allowed. I mean, it's different if it's
Yeah.
a face painter or,
Yeah.
someone running a game or something like that. But if it's an ice cream truck that's going to be in our parking lot, we
So do we-
generally don't allow
Like Kona
those.
truck or Kona Ice. You don't want Kona Ice coming out here for the birthday. But
I
they're
mean,
different
those
'cause-
have been here, and we don't generally chase them off unless they're, parked somewhere where it's dangerous and people can't see around them or whatever, and they've been in the upper park before. I think we want to keep them from 3 hours straight being parked in this parking lot, taking up,
Well, I think you can just
Space.
say, if you
Yeah,
wanna
for
have
the
Kona
pavilion.
Ice or a truck or anything else, you need to do a field instead. I mean, if you really
That's a
feel
good
like
idea.
we can't do that in this parking lot, then I think that's fine.
Sure. We had actually an example this weekend, or I think it was Friday. It took up that entire side of the parking lot, and it's just the getting emergency vehicles in and out when needed. Having kids running around a play vehicle like that in a parking lot, it can be dangerous. So I don't want to say never, because a small ice cream truck, parked out front, not bothering anyone, kids can come over and
I
do
agree.
something like that. Not a big deal. So maybe at the discretion of
Yeah,
staff,
let's
maybe you
just
need to
say-
describe what that commercial.
Yeah,
Vendors
they
going
just
to
need to
be-
run it up the flagpole and say they're gonna be parked here, they're gonna be here for 45 minutes during the 3-hour party,
Sure.
and then you can approve it.
Right, and I would like to leave that mostly up to like the police department. Like
Yeah,
if they think it's
sure.
feasible
Yeah.
in the space, that's just the one caveat to commercial.
So then I put a thing in here. It said, if your event requires a commercial vendor, please get approval from the city and upload certificate of insurance with the City of Rolling Wood as insured.
I think that
Oh,
sounds
that's-
perfect.
Is that
Right.
okay?
Great.
So we're not saying we're allowing this. You need to get your approval, and if it's approved, then you need to upload your certificate of insurance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's for the pavilion rental.
Sure,
And
and
what
if
I really like about that, because one of the other things that one of our neighbors was not happy about was that basically the clown was renting ahead of time and then basically backfilling birthday parties. So he's basically making this his commercial space, and then he was having parties come in. So this, it has to be individuals who rent it. And-
right,
Yeah.
yes, yeah, and if they were to upload certificates of insurance and then didn't get our approval, then we would obviously go back to them and say, hey, you uploaded these. What are they? What's the deal? So I like that.
And what we've been discussing is Are you seeing any red flags right now from a staff perspective of what we're discussing? Because that's a big consideration too. Like, are we helping or are we hurting the situation with what? And again, change is going to be hard. We're all going to get into a new
We're
system.
helping by making them jump through all these hoops before you
Ahead of
even-
time.
Yeah, ahead of
Sure,
time. So-
exactly. And the more info we have, the better. I can't say it's all going to stay like all streamlined and online because once they turn it over to us, if there's things that need to be changed, we're probably not going to go back in and change it or require them to go back in. It's just, I think this all helps. Our main things are going to be, like enforcement from our end. How much are we going to be able to make sure that the 20 people rule, that kind of stuff. But we haven't had a huge issue with them in the past, and if we do, we usually hear about it pretty quickly, and we can have someone there. So I think it's going to be helpful. I can't say we're going to use it to its full like online capability, but whatever we can do to help with that, we're in.
And we support you in saying, hey, if you're really serious about this, we need you to fill out the form first, and then we're happy to look at it.
Sure.
But I just have 2 questions. We'd really like you to fill out the form first.
Right. That will be very helpful. Yes, I'm sure that's going to be at least for a while as people are getting used to it, because they're so used to it's a 5-minute thing normally for them. They come in, they book it for the next day, and it happens. So totally understand. But no, this is staff can handle this work at this point.
Perfect.
So.
I've got to leave right at 1 o'clock.
Okay.
So, if we don't have anything else on non-commercial, if we could turn to the commercial one. And Nicole, I think you need to merge it.
Okay. Let me get there. You are correct. Just saw that. Merge. Okay, give it a whirl.
All right, yeah. Paid staff must have a background check.
So the top part of this should be consistent with what you just saw on the non-commercial. And
Yeah.
then where this differentiates primarily is with regard to your staff, making sure that
Yeah, I
you've had
saw
a
that.
background check done, that they're CPR and first aid certified,
Yep.
and that we have a contact for who your on-site supervisor is in the event that there's an issue or trouble or something comes up. Also upload your certificate of insurance with a minimum of the $1 million per occurrence. And then the driver's license below should be consistent with all the forms that we've seen now on the Pavilion as well as the non-commercial.
Where's the part about who is the supervisor?
Did that
It
get?
was above that.
It's above it.
It's right above organization priority type. On-site supervisor, please provide name, email, cell phone, repeat, and update.
I got it, okay.
We can move that around.
All right.
And I think we required them their proof of CPR. It didn't look like they were uploading those there. I think we have required them to show us physical proof of every instructor or someone that will be there. So.
Okay, so I can change that then from multiple choice to file upload,
Perfect.
and it will say, please upload.
Now, at one of our meetings, Melissa was saying that the way you did it is the on-site supervisor needed to have copies of the certifications rather than having them filed with the city. Does that make more sense?
So the reason why I said that is so they could upload the people they have hired today. So I'm running summer camps in June. Who I have hired in June is going to be real different than who I have hired now. And so that was part of why I just said, just agree that you have done your background checks and you've got your CPR and first aid. And then have the supervisor just needs to bring them or
Just have them on site. And I guess since we're not doing like a pay per instructor anymore, that used to be the case. So I suppose that might have been why we were collecting them to say this is your number of instructors. We definitely don't have to. I think we'd feel comfortable having them here so that way they prove it. And then we can all, at the end it can say, keep all this packet with you. So that way when the police department comes and say, you do have an event, they just hand them a packet and show that it's been approved.
Well, and you have a much better chance of actually then having names of people.
Sure. Exactly. Yes. Be very helpful. Yeah. And of course, if if it's a different instructor there who has all their stuff and we don't have it at that exact, it's probably not a big deal,
Yeah.
but.
So that just changed to please upload any paid staff CPR and first aid certifications.
Great.
Or I guess it should say all.
I like that.
Okay.
Any other discussion on the commercial rental process application?
The only other thing I'm thinking is on the driver's license, they may say, whose driver's license do you want? I don't know if we need to clarify that.
Right, maybe we say main,
Maybe the on-site supervisor?
Yeah, that
A
makes
copy
sense.
of the,
Yeah.
The city of Austin collects that for all the people working there, all personnel, supervisors.
Whoever's gonna be the on-site supervisor who's gonna be carrying around the certifications.
Yeah, I don't think we need more than one. I think the on-site
Yeah.
supervisor will be sufficient.
Yeah. Yep.
At some point, it's overkill.
All right, any other discussion? All right, I make a motion to approve the Pavilion non-commercial and commercial rental applications and submit them to the city council and the city attorney for approval.
I'll second with discussion. I wanna go through and print these things and just get a real full picture of how they actually look, so.
Okay.
I don't think much will change. We've been over this stuff a lot, but I just wanna have that on the table, that subject to further editing on our part as needed.
Unsubstantive editing, necessary editing.
Yeah,
Okay. Anybody else?
it's been seconded, I seconded.
Yeah. All those opposed?
do you have a question?
Okay, I'll wait.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that one passed.
I'll mention we're reviewing the council packet with our city attorney and the mayor on Wednesday morning. So if any of these updated documents and how you want those to go to council, if we could have those by tomorrow afternoon, maybe would be great. That way I can get them to the attorney. They may not be in final form by Wednesday, but he can have them and start reviewing, and then we can get the agenda set. So tomorrow afternoon would probably be the best.
Do I need to print these out for you? You should have access to the Google links. If not, just let me know and I'll grant you access, but I think you have access to everything.
Great, yes, and as long as we make sure that y'all have done your final once over and you like them how they are. When they're final, just let me know and shoot me the final link and all.
Well, Don, you have a deadline then tomorrow at 10 o'clock to make any changes to this rental
Can
process.
I get somebody to print me the three? My printer is not liking me, nor is my computer. This is my wife's computer. Could I print
If you
that?
wanna stick around after the meeting, we'll
That'd be
get
great.
that printed out.
That'd be great.
Sure.
One last step, I do think, Ashley, if you'll, or we can all do a fake one, turn it in, cause I do think it's good to just run through it one time, cause you notice stuff. And then let the staff look and see what it looks like on the backside, cause that's the other piece, is just to make sure that it's clean enough and easy for you guys to read.
Sure.
But
That's a great suggestion.
Do a trial application.
I'm not sure I can do it because I'm the owner of it, but if y'all could do it, that would be awesome. And I'll ask Lori to do it as well.
And if you wanna do one of each of the
Yep.
three at least, and then we'll be able to pull them up, that's a great
It's a
idea.
great
Maybe
idea.
July 4th then.
there you go.
Talking about getting in your way.
That's
Uh-huh.
right.
The way this works, I could just open this document and fill it out. Is there a send button at the bottom?
It says submit form.
The submit form, okay. There it is, submit, okay. Cool enough. Yeah, if I get a printout of this, then I can pour over them.
Did we vote?
Not
Yeah.
yet.
Okay,
Oh yeah, I guess y'all did.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, good.
It passed.
Perfect.
We're good. All right, since we only have 4 minutes left, unless anybody has something real fast on the Zilker Park Vision Plan Community Meeting. I'm
Wasn't
gonna-
Lori part of that
That was me
subcommittee?
and Lori.
Okay.
Mhm.
Do y'all have any
Waiting on everything
updates?
right now, not in
Okay.
3 minutes, yep.
We've already discussed continue to serve. And selection of city council board and commission liaisons. Do we want to do that?
This was just a discussion item that Nicole asked, just to kind of familiarize you with the process of selecting a liaison. The city council will make that selection probably at their next meeting. They wanted to wait because they still have a vacancy on city council. Generally, the mayor submits his slate of liaisons and it's approved by the full city council. So, it was previously put in for Phil. They didn't feel like they wanted to approve it yet because we were still down a member and things were changing. So we'll be bringing that back this month with the new mayor, Mayor Massengill's recommendations, and hopefully next month or possibly the following month, because we'll maybe just be making an appointment this month to fill that vacancy. But hopefully in the next couple months, y'all will have one officially. But Phil, I appreciate you being here and, still serving in that capacity. So
How does the vacant seat on city council get appointed? What's that process?
it's just an appointment process. You do have
Like
to
any
have
citizen?
the full qualifications to be a city council member, so you must meet all of the,
Chad?
Really? Anyone? Yeah. The city council will be discussing that. They haven't talked about it. They also have the ability to do an election if they want to. So it's fully, right now, it's open. And because that at the last meeting, a council member was appointed as mayor, that's why there's another vacancy. So at the 15th meeting, we'll have some more idea on how they want to go through with that, or they'll make an appointment at that meeting.
Are there
Okay.
candidates?
But if you're interested, you should contact your council members
Right.
and tell them that you're interested.
Right, yeah, there's not an application process
Fill
or
out
anything.
forms for each,
I appreciate that.
And I'll second it.
Thank you. I appreciate
Well, he couldn't
that.
be your chair then, so that's another.
That's true. Maybe there is some merit in this whole chair thing. All right. On
Yeah,
that
that's
note, I make a motion. We adjourn.
Second.
Second. All right.
Aye.
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 Well done, Chad.
We're adjourned.
That was excellent. And well done, Nicole.
Well
Honestly,
done.
that was.
Yeah,
I
good
love
job,
the way
Nicole.
you broke it down into very manageable, passable pieces.
I really did too.
Because it was very overwhelming for all of us. So
Yeah.
again,
I
it's,
appreciate y'all's hard work. Oh
Man,
my.
We were
really,
very-
Nicole gets a huge, because that
Yeah.
form is what makes it beautiful.
we're going to get through this. We are.
Yeah, thank you.